Donnie Boivin serves as the CEO of Success Champion Networking and is the founder of the Badass Business Summit. He is a top podcaster and a 5-time best-selling author. Motivated by a desire to transform the landscape of networking, Donnie established a business-to-business networking group across North America. Now, with hundreds of members, they have created more than just a business. They've created a community and a support system. I'm excited to learn more about it and how Donnie sees business networking evolve in the modern age of AI. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Buzzworthy Marketing Show.
Welcome to the show, Donnie. How you doing today?
Mike, this is awesome, man. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you, dude. I feel like we're almost like long lost brothers that just could show up and get into conversations for hours, like we did when we first got here. So thanks for having me on, brother.
I think it has to do with both of us being vets. I think vets
Yeah.
have this gift to gab with strangers because we're used to being strangers.
100%.
Right? We go to foreign lands, or we make instant friends with people because that's the life.
I think it's easier to make friends overseas than it is in the US sometimes.
Well, especially nowadays. Geez,
yeah,
we
sure.
try to be white with a bald head and a cisgender. Come on now. But
Yeah.
we digress. No, there was literally one time I had to put a hat on in Chicago. Was there a couple years ago, and I was like, I think I better put a hat on. It was a politically charged time of year, the whole 9 yards, and I grew up in like East Oakland, San Francisco Bay Area. That's how I grew up, right? But nowadays, I have no idea.
That's why we stay away from the city altogether. It's just easier to stay out here in the country.
I moved to the country. Yep, club, not country. Just so as my listeners know, they know that I'm not on a farm boy anymore. But you are.
I am.
Of sorts. Yes, you are, and you are the proprietor of a huge B2B network. And give us the name of that again. It's the
Success Champion Networking.
And all right, tell us a little bit about this. I love the story behind it. So give the audience a little synopsis here.
Yeah, for sure. I never thought networking groups was going to be my business. I'm just kind of that guy that, I thought most people who teach networking are just idiots. And the reason I say that is because it's networking. It's not rocket science, right? But
it is an art, Donnie, and it is an art.
for sure. But it's I didn't fully understand that the way I look at networking didn't come naturally to a lot of people. Right. But my wife looked at me one day and said, why don't you change how the world networks? And that changed my philosophy. Okay, now I'll teach networking, right? Because I want to teach it from a different perspective. But we launched the networking groups during the pandemic because we were watching everybody move online. And it took me 2.5 years to build a legitimate online business. And people didn't have 2.5 years, beginning of the pandemic. They had 30 days to figure out how to stay in business. So I was already running a successful sales training company and a podcast production company. So I didn't launch the groups because I needed extra revenue. I launched it to try and help as many people as possible. And from there, I just didn't understand how big of a gap there was in the marketplace for people who sell B2B. Because, if you're a small, mid-sized company and you're trying to grow, going to your local chamber's not going to help you out. Going to a lot of networking events aren't going to help you out. So there's just not a lot of places you can go if you're a under $100,000 company selling into $1 million to $20 million company. There's not a lot of places for you to go network that's of value. So we created that virtual environment, and it took off, and we've just been holding on for the ride.
So what I'm hearing is that there's an opportunity for the little guys that don't have that network at the enterprise level to actually get connected with some medium to enterprise level B2B companies.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So how does that work? Like walk the listeners through, like, what was the experience on that?
Yeah. So if you think about it, so let's say you're a telecom, an MSP, IT company, you may have a staff 5 to 7 type people, but when you go to networking, you're not selling B2C. So your clientele that you would traditionally sell to, they're not out networking. Like, you're not going to see a CEO of a $4 million company at after hours, right? Just not going to happen. What you will run into, though, is other people who also sell to those size companies out
Ah,
there and about. So what we tell people is you don't network for referrals. Because a referral is an introduction with a sales call attached. It's like,
right,
hey, Bob, I've told Sally about your company. They know what you do. They're looking for your services. Really excited to talk, right? So there's
right,
expected sales call. An
right.
introduction just putting two good people together. So
Mhm,
so when you're B2B, everything's a long play, right?
mhm.
There's like, you can literally can't sell to the people you're networking with because they're not at a level that can buy, IT services and telecom services, software, right?
Right.
So you network to get introduced to the people who have your ideal client base.
Mhm.
So we created an environment where we bring all those people together that focus on particular industries,
Love it.
like HR, manufacturing, and the like, and we bring them together so now they can actually strategize, how do we get into XYZ company, or I just got into XYZ company, who needs to go into that company?
I
And
love
it really opens a really cool dynamic then.
That's awesome. So if just so before I forget, what's the website if somebody wanted to check
Yeah,
this out?
really easy. SuccessChampionnetworking.com.
SuccessChampionNetworking.com. Beautiful. It probably comes up in the Google searches as
Yeah.
well, which is awesome. So I want to dive into something you said earlier in the 2020. So most of the listeners know in 2019, I shut down my brick and to the end of 2018, actually, I shut down my brick and mortar creative agency, 13,000 square foot facility in downtown Anchorage. I had a corner office. I looked over the mountains. It was a gorgeous place, but I was completely miserable. I went virtual.
Yep.
And I can attest to the amount of time it takes to build an online company because that's what we did. I said, you know what?
Huge.
Done with this building. I'm done with having the brick and mortar. I'm going to figure out how to do my business online. And as a business consultant, I mean, being a fractional CMO, you have to get in front of business owners. And you know what? The hardest thing to do is get in their inbox.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so, yes, I learned really quick how true your network is your net worth. And what
100%.
you're talking about is not like the BNIs of the world, the business, and I made my first million off of referrals through BNI, right? But it's not scalable, right?
No,
Unless you're in the B2C arena, and some
correct.
of the services do really well there. And Dr. Ivan Meisner, me and him actually know each other, and I respect what he's done with it. But in the B2B world, it's so much harder because there are multiple doors to the rooms you're trying to get into, so
Yeah,
many offers, right?
well, so to that point, I mean, like, when you sell B2C, literally everybody can be your prospect.
Right.
If you're selling a house, you're selling like, everybody can be your prospect. When you sell B2B, you have such a small market of
Mhm,
people that you can actually sell to. Now, you may be able to sell into like manufacturing. Well,
mhm,
of course there's millions of manufacturing companies out there, but
mhm,
getting access to those guys, manufacturing companies, they're not out networking,
mm-mm,
you know, and the like. So you've got to, not only when you network, not only do you got to be able to open doors for others, but you got to be able to establish lifelong trust with people that
mhm,
they're going to literally vouch for you to talk to their clientele. That doesn't
mhm.
happen overnight, right? Those relationships take time to develop.
Oh, they do.
And BNI has their place. I just hate the giver's gain philosophy. And here's why. I think givers gain, and the same thing with Zig Ziglar's help enough people get what they want and you'll get what you want philosophy. I love Zig. I think it's amazing. I think Ivan Meisner, have a ton of respect for the guy. But those two philosophies have gotten people down this mindset of give, 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 give. And eventually some magical unicorn is going to show up and give you business. And
Right.
so you get a lot of people that get burnt out. They're like, man, I just keep giving and I get nothing back from it. I don't know what the heck's going on. And I tell people, you got to take from the network as well. You've got to take care of yourself. So you give, you give, you give, you take, and then you
Right.
give again.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
and
It's a cycle.
100%. And you get this mindset of, let me open up a bunch of doors for you so that I can then make a very specific ask of who I'd like to be introduced to. And it's
Love it.
not a tit for tat type thing. It's literally, let's grow each other's business.
Right. Exactly. I think finding referral partners is so important. So for like a fractional CMO, like I am, and dealing with other, and I literally serve business to business service based businesses, right?
Yep.
So like I am my own avatar, if you will, right? I know what the pain points of getting business is, and I understand the marketing behind it, that whole 9 yards. But is not everybody's going to be a good fit for your referral partners, and
Correct.
leveraging that. One of the things that I heard you say, is the give, 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 and then so you got to take a little bit, and it reminded me of Gary Vee's social media strategy of
Jab,
the
jab,
hook,
jab.
jab, 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 hook, jab, 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 hook, which we've actually adopted into the B2B world. A little bit of shorter rounds. We only do 2 jabs and a hook. And because if you don't, because of the fact that the sales cycles are usually so much longer, if you wait longer to ask, you're going to have to wait even longer to get, right?
Get that.
And so you have to ask more, I think, in B2B. Even though there's
Yeah,
fewer people
100%.
to ask, you got to ask more.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's, when you're selling B2B, people are used to 6 month, year-long sales cycles.
Right.
Right, because it's a big sale most times. I mean, if you're gonna
Right.
redo your entire phone systems, that's a big sale, right? If
Right.
you're gonna have custom software built, that's a big sale, so if you don't start asking early in the game, right, then all you're doing is elongating the entire process. I 100% agree with
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just on the phone earlier today, and the gentleman just got. We have a CRM that we offer at Buzzworthy Marketing, and we were talking about his company, and did he have a CRM? And he's like, I just signed on for this thing called Zoho. I have a visceral effect, a reaction when I hear that word Zoho. It's like I said, I spent 8 months trying to make Zoho work because of the price point. It made sense for the SMB, but the problem is it's just too discombobulated. The way they have
Yeah.
too many loose ends to it, so to actually make it work as a cohesive CRM. So I warned him. But then I also put in my CRM that is all in one and don't have to do any of that stuff. In 6 months, I'm going to talk to him and say, hey, how's that Zoho going? Because they sign up for the year, right? They
Yeah.
suck you in for that year. It's like type
Well,
of thing. So
I think a lot of software could be argued that way. I mean, we've got a program that we use, and I'm not going to say their name because I don't want to prop them up.
yeah,
But we've jam packed our business into this program because there's no software yet out there that'll handle what we need to have done. So we're getting ready to start working on building out our own custom software. But I think most times companies, like software in particular, spends too much time trying to be all things to all people.
right.
Right, and they start adding a little bit of this there, a lot of a little of this here, and, if you look at a big company like a Salesforce, when you're talking CRMs, they've innovated so much that the little guys can't even use it anymore,
Oh
you
no,
know?
I just had one of my clients, a fractional CFO, using HubSpot, spend
Yeah, same
$1,000 a
thing.
month on HubSpot, and I'm like, whoa, like that you're not one, he's not using all the things there, and two,
Yeah,
it is extremely convoluted on how to actually use it. Like it is made so that marketers can use it, not the end
correct.
user can use it. And so when we built ours, that was like one of the things we're like, it has to be drag and drop, no code, easy click and play, and it has to be scalable because we have people who start at the low 6 figures, and by the time they get to multi-7, the last thing they want to do is change their CRM.
Yeah, yeah.
All the data is there, and it is a pain in the butt to change the CRM. So we made a scalable, easy to use CRM for our stuff, but we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the fact that networking has changed since COVID, right? Even now that we can get, we digressed. So even now that we can get out and talk to people face to face, I just moved from Illinois to Virginia, and now I'm trying to find places to go network face to face in Richmond, Virginia, right? Capital. There should be
Yep.
plenty of places. So I go to Meetup, right? There's like 7 meetups
Yeah,
for business networking. 3 of them are for brand new companies and like micro businesses, which are not going
yep,
to be my ideal client. And then 3 of the last 4 are all virtual.
yep.
There was only one face to face. They only meet every 6 weeks.
Well, and so one of the things that we found when we created the groups is there's no point in driving into town. So we talked about this earlier. I'm 35 to 45 minutes into downtown Fort Worth, Texas.
Right.
So if I got to go to a meeting in Fort Worth, I'm losing half a damn day, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So there's no point. And yes, I can work the phone, but I can sit here and do back-to-back meetings all day long and get so much more accomplished
Mm-hmm.
versus trying to work a phone while I'm driving and calling and the like. So your extremely successful people don't have time to take the time out of their day. So
Mm.
this is why we decided we're going to stay virtual. Now, all of our chapters, they do a monthly happy hour because you're never going to replace a handshake and a hug,
Right.
right? There's just
Physical
something
or
about
tactile
flesh on flesh.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yeah.
So every chapter does their own happy hour. In some areas where we have multiple chapters, they combine together, do a big happy hour. And it's really, really cool. And then we do summits. So we've got the
Mm.
Badass Business Summit coming up here in September. So that's coming through. We have, ton of other, we have the Champion Summit that we take around the US and do
Mm.
that as well, just to bring people together. But
Love
when
it.
you're running a successful business, that drive into town, it just kills a lot of momentum.
Oh, it does. I mean, it does. But yeah, but again, like you said, that handshake and a hug, man, it goes a long way when you talk about connecting, right?
For
Um,
sure.
and not everybody's good on the screen. And if I have to see the headboard of one more person's bedroom, I mean, come on, guys. If we're going to do this virtual thing, let's go ahead and commit to at least a blank wall behind you. Okay.
Something. Well, that's part of the reason I went so crazy with all my setup is, everything you do tells a story.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't think about is what story do they actually want to have told. And if we talked about Gary Vee earlier, if you look at Gary Vee, I mean, his shelves and everything tell a
Oh,
story about his childhood and the things he grew up around. And like, what there was a funny episode that somebody sent me. At once upon a time, some of his staff were sneaking things onto his shelves so they could get brand promotions and stuff. So he had to re-clear his shelf and make a company, rule that nobody can touch his shelves.
Easter
Uh,
eggs, Easter
yeah.
eggs right there. I love it. Product placement. Come on, Gary. You should appreciate this. Come on. All right. Now, if somebody has been thinking, and one of our listeners might be thinking, like, how do I get, if I, you have your network and that's great, but what if they're not a B2B, right? And they want to take advantage of the internet to virtually network. Where are some other places we could look for those who might, do you know of any for a good
Yeah,
B2C
so for
space?
B2C, Alignable's amazing to go to.
Okay.
Um, there's a lot of Facebook groups that are really, really, really active. I tell everybody just vet the group. So any Facebook group you go into, sit in
Hmm.
it for 7 days and don't say a word. Just see
Okay.
what happens until you can figure
Hmm.
it out. There's LinkedIn groups are still dead. They're
They're
not
still
active,
dead.
but yeah, they're not working at all still.
Is that just because
But
people don't hang out there?
no, LinkedIn doesn't want them to work. So I
Oh,
had a guy named Kevin Hunter explain this to me. So
okay.
LinkedIn is the only social media platform that doesn't make money off of your information.
Uh,
So
uh,
Facebook does, Instagram does, right? Everybody else makes money off of your information.
okay.
LinkedIn makes money off of subscriptions.
Uh,
So from Sales Navigator, Premium, so they're whatever, like a $4 or $8 billion company, I forget, and
right.
it's all from subscriptions.
Uh,
So
oh,
with
and
the group,
ads.
yeah, and ads, right? But it's still primarily subscriptions more even than with the ads
Gotcha.
yet.
Gotcha. Uh-huh.
But what they found is the groups get you around the subscriptions because once you're in the groups, you can send messages to anybody in there, so you
Uh,
can literally get connected to people, and there's no need for the subscriptions. So that's
mhm,
when they came to that
mhm,
realization after Microsoft bought them out. That's when they
mhm.
nuked the groups to make a revenue play.
Oh, shoot.
So,
Microsoft.
which, yep,
Damn you,
yep.
Bill Gates. You and your
So
fake meat. Anyway, all right. So somebody's getting started. What are some, like, give us like one or two like magical tips of getting started with online networking. If like this is a new play for you, you don't know how to start, or at least make sure that you're not in that giver seat too long, and
yep.
that you're actually have that cycle we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. So the reason people don't get referrals or introductions is either A, they're a jerk. B, people think that they're going to sell anybody they introduce them to.
Mm,
C, freaking people have no idea what the heck you do for a living.
mm,
Or the fourth one is people just don't like you, right? I mean,
mm.
sorry, the fourth one is you don't ask, right?
Right. You don't ask.
So what happens for most times is people can also not get referrals because people don't know how to refer you. Right? They
Mm,
don't know how to open the door for you. So the biggest thing you've got to be able to do is get away from the stupid jingles with the songs on the end and all that stuff. There's no relevance there. It does not work. And if you do B2C, it probably works. But in a B2B game, your job is to get the people you're meeting and talking to and get them to understand who your best referral partners would be. So if
mm,
I sell MSP IT, then telecom and websites are people I probably can do a lot of work with. If I'm doing fractional, other fractionals are great people for me to meet, right?
mhm,
So instead of saying I'm a fractional CMO and I'm looking for companies between $2 and $4 million, blah blah blah, you
mhm,
say I'm a fractional CMO and I'd actually like to meet other fractionals. I'd actually like to meet some PR firms,
mhm,
people that you can automatically build these synergistic relationships with, and
mhm,
watch how quickly people on the screen you're talking to go, "Oh, I got a guy. I know somebody."
mhm,
Because we're networking with those people and we can make those introductions all day long, right?
mm,
Then it's about leveraging those introductions to actually get the referrals. So that's the biggest one is quit talking about your end user client and start talking about who can be your actual referral synergy partners and watch what really happens to your business. Two, quit carrying business cards if you're out freaking in public. Business cards are irrelevant in this day and age. You don't need them. If there's somebody you meet and you want to connect with them, literally look at the person and ask for their cell phone number and say, "Hey, give me your cell phone. I'll text you all my information." There's nothing more powerful on this planet than somebody's cell phone number, right? Uh, we sign up for emails all the time. We'll give dump numbers and dump addresses and all this stuff, but you always give your real cell phone. If there's somebody that wants your information and you don't really want to connect with that person, pull open your LinkedIn app, click on the search bar. There's a little square to the right. Click that square. It's going to pull up a QR code for your LinkedIn profile. Hand them that, have them scan that in, then they can follow you on LinkedIn. It's a great way to vet out who's trying to connect with you. So, get your synergy partners dialed in and then quit carrying business cards. It'll make your life a lot easier. Hey guys, if you're still hanging out with us and you got any valuable information out of this, do us a favor and take a screenshot, share it on social media, tag me and Michael in it. If we see it, we'll come comment and engage. Having my own shows, I know how hard it is to grow an audience. So tagging us in a post, anything to like, lets the world know or lets Michael know that this is the kind of stuff that you're into, the kind of content you want to listen to. You show him some love, he'll come show you some love. If I see it, I'll come show you some love too. So thanks for having me on, brother.